What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid-techno, and we're back with a tune I actually did react to on my other channel, but as with the case with a couple others that I've talked about recently, I went back and looked at the video. It's just too long. It was way too long. There is an anecdote that I need to explain when I set up this track, so it will be, a little bit longer than the track itself. But yeah, I don't even know what the hell I talked about. It was way too long. It was like 25 minutes long. And the tune, I think, is like 7 minutes long. So again, I'll need a couple minutes to set something up, but I just felt like I needed to redo the video. And part of it also, I mentioned the videos that were on my old YouTube channel, that once I put them there, I didn't know I was going to lose access to that channel, so I just deleted all the content from my computer. I don't have unlimited space on my computer, even though I do use a couple external hard drives. And so then suddenly it was like, oh, you have to leave this channel and you have a limited amount of time to get all your content, so I had to like rush and download everything, and then whoops, it became clear to me that YouTube had compressed all my videos, because when I uploaded them they were all like 1080p with 256 kps sound, and then when I re-downloaded them from YouTube they were 720p with 128 kps. It was like, wait, what, you compressed all my files? So there's a few where I feel like the reaction was just so like good in the moment that I'm not going to redo them, just because I don't want to have to like pretend or like, try to get myself back to that specific reaction. So there's a few that I'm just going to keep uploading and say, hey, this is one from my old channel. But there's some that, looking at the old videos, like, it's too long. So that's why we're redoing this one. And the one we are redoing is a tune by Bad Boy Pete. It's a tune called Top of My Game. This is on Acid Mutant's label from Spain. Shout out to Acid Mutant. I think I first heard his tunes on Acid Corp, another Spanish acid techno label. I'm going to react to a tune on that label soon, so keep an eye out. Or an ear out, if you will. But no, this is on Total Loss, which is Acid Mutant's label, Total Loss 1. This was 2020. Shout out to the label. Again, I love that there are acid techno labels of great quality in a number of countries around the world, not just Europe, but also other parts of the world, South America, North America, here in California even. But yeah, so this is a label from Spain. This is a tune from my good friend and awesome producer, Bad Boy Pete. I do have to mention, and I'll try to keep it briefer than I did last time, there's a vocal in this tune that, believe it or not, it was sort of, under wraps at first. We were tight-lipped about it, but the vocal in this track comes from yours truly. Which is to say, Pete was looking for a vocal of a sort of like aggressive, kind of ornery American accent. He even mentioned specifically that he kind of had something in mind like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, as, Colonel Jessup, I believe. And so he basically said, hey, I'm looking for someone to give me a sort of aggressive, kind of American-sounding vocal sample. He gave me a script, but he also gave me some freedom. He said, look, here's kind of the general message that I want you to say, but feel free to toy with a couple of the lines if, you might think that changing one word or the other could make it sound more natural, and he let me sort of explore with it. So I did a recording for him. I gave it to him. He's like, hey, it's good. I like it. Do me a favor, and he sort of told me like how to address the mic, not get so close up onto it so that my plosive or the wind sounds could be heard, but sort of stand a little bit back, turn it to the side and so on. So it took me a couple recordings, and indeed another part of the issue was that he was like, I love it, go a little bigger, go a little louder, a little angrier, or a little angrier, sorry, a little bigger. I was like, okay. So I did that. I sent him a second batch, and he's like, I love it, we're almost there, just give me one more. So I did one more, and I felt like I almost went too far. I was like very shouty and like aggressive and whatever, and so I sent him the next batch, and I was like, look, this one's like Angry Shnootz, but hopefully this is good. And he sent me back a message, Angry Shnootz for the win, we got it. So long story short, this is an excellent acid techno track which has a vocal on it, which I actually provided. So there you go. So this is from 2020. It's Bad Boy Pete, and it's called Top of My Game on Total Loss 1. Full disclosure, because I was involved in the track in that way, I got to hear it as it developed. And I remember telling Pete from the very first version that he put together, yo, that drone sound is fucking awesome. It's like this black fog over the track. Pete does that in a couple tracks now that I've noticed. Like, the end of a measure, he'll bring in a cymbal right at the end just to kind of like accent the end of the measure and then pull it back out. So the kick drum has to be commented on, but there's this like background like gurgle, like whoa. By the way, I also told Pete from the very first version that he put together, that computer bleep noise, that kind of like computer warning, like error kind of bleep, perfection. Like, it's just the like excellent little touch of dissonance that like brings the track to a way higher level. In fact, it's like, I think as I described it to him back then, I don't think I said computer noise, I think I said like sonar bleep. Again, the acid, it's now grinding away, but that black fog haze over the tune in the form of the drone. Golden. Tell me, Shnootz. By the way, that like metallic, like factory sound, like right at the measure change, I love that. Cymbals coming in and pulling out. Also, know what Pete does here, right? Like, the sample is about like, the way you stay on top is you don't relax. You keep it hard, like you keep going, you keep pushing, you keep it hard the whole way through. Well, guess what? The track doesn't have a breakdown. Not like a proper breakdown, right? Like, the track embodies the very ethos that the sample suggests. There's a few producers that I'm friends with, Pete and acid-techno, Formic and Hardcore. They make tunes that are like clever on a level where I wonder, like, do people notice what they're doing here? Like, but now the acid is just again, like, he allowed me to explore, read some different lines, try some different versions of the lines, and then he ended up using some of the variations in these moments here that, like, you want to stay on top. And again, there's like the kind of real grinding, like driving acid layer. There's one like chirping super high up top. Those symbols are like bright reflective glass, which may make no sense, but like they make the track shine in those moments. I've obviously heard this tune a lot. I mean, I listen to all the records I get a lot, but, you know, I heard this one a lot before I even got the vinyl. It's just, you know, Pete's tunes It's the sonic quality, it's the structure, and it's the use of samples, whether or not I happen to be involved in that. His composition is top level. Listen to the acid. Rich, lathered. The sonar and or computer bleep. It's a big element. That metallic factory sort of blare, like right at the measure change. I love it. Now we got these like crickets. Forgot about that. Nighttime techno. Ow. Sounds like a good message to me. Yeah, shout out to Pete, not only for just an amazing tune, my favorite tune on the record, and I want to insist, it really has nothing to do with me, like, doing the vocal for that. I just love Pete's tracks. I love, again, the way he puts tunes together. I love the different elements, like their actual sonic quality, and as I mentioned, you know, not just, again, in a track where, like, I actually provided the vocal, but in all of his tracks, whether he's sampling like Al Pacino and Scarface, or whether he's, you know, sampling who is it, MC Cozy, yeah, like the way he uses samples is very creative and very focused. And I remember talking to him about it, and he was saying, you know, there's a term like picking, where it's like, yeah, sampling, you could just put a big like sample, just plop it down in the middle of your tune. But you could also find lines and implement them in just the right way at just the right moments, and to him that was picking. That's like what he referred to it as, and I definitely hear that. So yeah, shout out to Pete, shout out to Acid Mutant. As I said, love the fact that acid-techno labels exist all over the world, including in Spain. His tunes on this, I think there are 2, right? Let me check. I think he has 2 tunes on this. They're both cool. There's one in particular that I like. Let me see. Yeah, it's Pay for Your Sins and Wrong. I think Pay for Your Sins is my favorite of his too. So we'll come back for that one at some point. There's also a Chris and Sam tune on here. I mean, where isn't a Chris and Sam tune at this point? They honestly, last couple years, like, is there any duo more prolific? We're talking like dozens of tunes in just like a couple years' time. So shout out to them. But yeah, they have a tune on this, We Want to Fucking Party. I do like it a lot. I wouldn't say like it's my absolute favorite from them in recent times. I mentioned there's one that they did for that, what is it, T&I label. Big fan of that tune. Big fan of just a number of tracks they've done. So I'll come back for at least the Acid Mutant tune, if not also the Chris and Sam tune. But like I said, if that one or any other one is something that you'd like to hear, don't hesitate to shout out a request. Always interested to take those. I will mention, channel's obviously been growing a little bit in the last week or two, so it is getting to the point now where I've gotten like a number of requests. I try to write them all down. I try to, you know, write down who made the request and so on, different genres, electronic and otherwise. I'm going to try to get to them all. I am just going to go through them as much as I can, like in the order that I got them. But bottom line, if there's one that you asked for and it seems like it's been a while since you asked, do not hesitate. Just say, hey man, like, did you remember? Like, whatever. I will not be offended at all. My short-term memory can be dodgy, so I wouldn't mind the help. So anyway, shout out something if you do want to hear it reacted to. Thank you for listening and watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a good day, have a good night, and I will see you next time. Peace.